4 of the lengthy classic game room review of HERZOG ZWEI. If you've been watching from the beginning, you know that I'm intentionally Americanizing ZWEI because that's just how I'm used to saying it. Let's watch a full game, and this is a long game, so this should definitely show you how a challenging game against the computer unfolds. A game in which I make many mistakes, so I don't play this one nearly as well as I played the game in part 2. This level is also one of the most challenging. This is OASE, one of the 8 varied environments in which you get to play HERZOG ZWEI. I like this level a lot. It has some desert-like sand traps in there. It has a huge lake in the middle, like one of the Finger Lakes in New York. You can attack the enemy with a combination of tanks, ground vehicles, and boats. The first thing I always do when playing the computer is attack his home base right away. I want to damage his home base. I want to get a quick advantage over him, and I want to destroy some of his equipment because then he'll have to waste time building new equipment or buying new equipment. I can see on my map where he is. He's concentrating on the bottom, and that's starting to make me nervous because I'm trying to take over a base near the middle. And that's actually a little unusual for him to attack one of my sub-bases right away. Normally he tends to go for an unoccupied base because you really want to get the unoccupied ones first to start earning extra credits, because the more bases you have, the faster you earn credits. But the first thing he's doing is actually taking over one of my bases. Now he's got to get 4 troops in there before he completely occupies it, so I'm sort of turning a blind eye to this for the moment, figuring I'll go down there and take care of that later, because I want to occupy this other base so I can start earning credits faster. And this was a mistake, because I actually was not paying attention to what he was doing. And he's going to get an advantage over me right away. That son of a bitch. Okay. The big SOS starts flashing. That's your warning sign that you've just been a dumbass and the computer is now attacking your main base. Not only is he attacking my main base with a tank, but he's also got 2 boats on there. So I've just been completely taken by surprise, and you can see on the top left of the screen that my base has suffered a pretty significant amount of damage. As I'm flying away to see what he's been doing to my sub-base, I notice that there's a couple other machines driving towards my main base. I've just run out of fuel. And that's a great example of an efficient use of your units, to send your units off to attack your opponent rather than just dropping the units off right next to the base. As I mentioned in the other parts of the review, if you're playing against a human, you tend to use your units more with commands rather than just dropping them off somewhere. And the computer is actually playing this game smarter than normal. I'm starting to reclaim this base that he's been pestering, and when I reclaim a base, or if I take over a base, the first thing I do is set up a whole bunch of missile launchers around it to keep the enemy transformer away. But as you'll notice, he continues to launch tanks at my missile launchers and destroy them. I just want to tell him to go away and occupy one of the neutral bases, but he's so stuck on this one base of mine. It's such a single-minded computer. He just gets it into his head that he wants a certain base and he will not go away. Look at that. How dare that son of a bitch put a tank there? That's my base. How would you like it if you came home from a hard day at work and somebody set a tank in your front yard? And it started shooting at you. That's a very insensitive enemy computer, and he must be destroyed. You'll notice he's actually using some tactics that I would use on the computer, which is if you keep someone busy doing one thing, they can't do something else at the same time. So by me spending all of my time down there defending that one base, I'm not actually attacking his home base. And I'm also not occupying other sub-bases. So what I've done is, rather than spend time flying around the screen dropping off enemy units, I've just launched 4 infantry soldiers at the neutral base on the bottom right. Now they're going to have to run through that desert, so it's like Lawrence of Arabia. You know, they're going to go into it and then come out the other side 2 days later or something. But eventually they will capture that bottom right neutral base, and I'll get the extra credits, which will give me an advantage in earning credits so that I can buy some more machines to attack the computer. Set up some light defensive units. All the while I'm continuously checking the map to see where that son of a bitch is, because he's a sneaky little devil in this game. He's actually fighting quite well. When I play in 2-player against my friend back in high school, we'd set up 50 units against each other, which was the maximum amount of units that you could control on screen at any one time. Which was kind of fun because when one got destroyed, you'd know right away. It was like the Invid and Robotech. They had that big thing where they could see all the various Invids and know when one died. So you'd know when one dies, and then right away you'd build another tank. And if you had 20 tanks lined up, we'd literally set up these huge defensive lines of 20 tanks, maybe 2 tanks deep, like 10 tanks in 2 rows. And then what you can do is you can change the command on each of your units when you pick up the unit. You don't actually have to fly back to the main base or anything. You can just pick it up, change it from a stationary command to an attack enemy home base command and let it go. It's like a wind-up car. So we just go down this line of 20 tanks and just change all the commands from stop to attack enemy base. So you'd be flying somewhere and all of a sudden you'd see like 20 or 30 tanks rolling towards your base. And if you attacked somebody's undefended base with 20 tanks, you'd win in a heartbeat. Of course that never happened because we'd have huge defensive lines also set up. It's a brilliant game for 2 players, and I don't know how they would program a computer to play quite as well as a human, especially back in 1989, but the computer opponent's not bad at all. It's definitely enjoyable. He's more of a nuisance than anything else, because you're going to win the game if you're good at it. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take you. And you have to transform into a robot to attack ground pieces, by the way. You can't just fly around as a plane and blow them up. I think I mentioned this earlier, but different units, each unit costs a different amount of money. The most inexpensive of which is infantry, and they're also the weakest. The most expensive of which is the gun turrets. See, I'm not having much luck attacking his main base this game. He's actually got it very well defended. And I think this board is a little larger than some of the other ones, or at least it feels a bit larger. It's not as easy to just fly right back into that to fly in behind his base and just drop a tank off to sit there and pound away at it. While I have some defensive positions set up at the bottom of the screen defending my sub-base that he seems to be fixated on, I'm now taking over a second sub-base, which will put me in striking distance of his main base. And when one of your bases comes online, it makes this very distinctive sound. And the same goes for your opponent. When one of their bases is activated, you hear that same sound. Time to make a strike for it. I fly up around the top of the lake. He's got some pretty strong defenses up there. So it's time to blow up some tanks by hand, which I do. There we go. His enemy got a few shots on mine, but one of the things you can do is when your opponent is in plane form and trying to land and attack you, he can't transform if you're directly below him. So you just run around underneath him and try to stop him from transforming. And then if he does transform, you transform into a plane. If he transforms into a robot, so you can just go back and forth, waste a bit of his time. I mean, time is everything in this game. That's why it's a real-time strategy game. I also I don't review that many of them because I have as much time to play them as I'd like, but I love strategy games. Final Fantasy Tactics was an excellent game and one that I remember enjoying a lot back when I was in college. And Front Mission 3 was a lot of fun. I also played through Front Mission 4 before I brought Classic Game Room back, and I was only playing one game one game at a time. Although Front Mission 3 was a much better story than Front Mission 4. I liked some of the battle improvements that they put into Front Mission 4, and I still have my game saves for that in the disc, so I'll eventually get to a review of Front Mission 4. But man, was the voice acting and dialogue in that game terrible. There's a motorcycle. See it drive by? Those are pretty quick, but they're completely worthless and vulnerable and easy to destroy. And there's the motorcycle, most likely attacking my base, so I'm not too worried about it. You'll notice that when I'm playing the computer, I use very light defenses around my home base. That is completely different if you're playing against a human, because a human opponent will know that if you don't have any defenses around your home base, that's the perfect time to strike your home base, or to strike their home base. Especially with a wave of 20 tanks. That always gets the job done. Another great trick is to send in a wave of 20 tanks. And I actually had to change tapes in there. Another great trick is to send in a wave of 20 tanks or armored cars towards your opponent's main base, and then to send about 5 or 6 missile launchers in with them with the attack home base command. That way the opponent can't transform and just blow up all the tanks by himself, because he's being attacked by the missile launchers. If you'd circle one of your main bases with missile launchers, that was effective in keeping the enemy plane away. One of the things I used to do if the enemy did that, or if my opponent did that, my friend did that, I would simply fly around the base in circles and then use up all of the missiles, all the enemy's missiles. Then next time you fly over there, or one of the next times you fly over there, they're completely out of missiles, and you can start blowing things up manually or dropping off tanks to destroy his base. HERZOG ZWEI has a very easy password system to use. After you've won a game, it gives you a code that you see on the bottom of the screen, and you'll see it at the end of the screen when I eventually end this game. You can actually find those codes online today if you want to pick this game up and just skip right to the end, which I don't recommend. I'd actually suggest playing through the entire thing. It's a tough game to find now. I've seen this sold out there for $40 just as the cartridge, for more money if it has the box and manual. I lost my box and manual years ago, but this is still my original game cartridge. And unlike a CD-based game, there's no scratches on it that prevent it from playing over time. Now that I have the computer fairly occupied and haven't... Oh, look at that. All of my missile launchers are out of missiles. Well, that's not good. I was actually taking over that base on the top left of the screen with some infantry. I'm going to manually restock each of these machines with missiles by hovering over my base. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, but you can refuel the energy in your plane by hovering over your main base or any of your sub bases that you control. Obviously, you cannot do that with bases that he controls. And the same goes for picking up pieces of equipment that you order. They never really explain how these units are manufactured, or if they're simply materialized in some sort of a matter synthesizer like they would have on the Starship Enterprise. So there's definitely a suspension of disbelief in this game. They never show you how these tanks are made. I mean, sure, you earn money faster, but Like, who do you pay? Is there a bunch? Are there groups of magic elves that live inside of your bases and build things for you? How's that work? I don't know. If they ever bring out HERZOG 3, maybe they'll explain that. Maybe they'll start taxing you on your income. It'll turn into a giant, violent game of Monopoly. Not only can you take over your enemies' bases, but then you can build hotels on them. See, I don't know how he's building all these things so quickly. I swear in some games they just give the enemy more of a limit on his credit card and he goes nuts when building these things. But have patience, I will crush him. Of course, you're only watching this on the internet. You could just go and do something else. If it was me, I would just sit here and watch HERZOG ZWEI, which is what I'm doing. Makes me want to go home and play HERZOG ZWEI. Hey, you, get away from my tank. I'll blow this one up. I'll blow that guy up. I'll blow this one up. I love the sound that the enemy troops make when you blow them up and they turn into little splotches. Can't really mimic that sound. That's a great sound. By the way, you'll recognize a number of sound effects from this game in Thunder Force 2 in particular. I think maybe Thunder Force 3 used some of them, but definitely in Thunder Force 2, which came out about not exactly the same time as this game. I'm now attacking his main base with boats. I will crush you from the land and the sea. Alright, it's time to finish him off. I have 3 boats going towards his base. Now I'm building a tank. He's not going to last real long. I'm gonna just walk around, destroy things. And there you have it, another classic game room victory against the Sega Genesis and its pathetic handling of the blue computer in HERZOG ZWEI. Take that, Sega. I've crushed your AI. Now please bring this game back for one of the modern game consoles and put it online. I don't ask for much from you. I haven't in the past. I've asked Santa Claus for a pony and he's failed to give me that. Don't disappoint me like Santa has.